hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, cannot be taken from them. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These words alone, now you listen to this close, were written to create a revolt. Oh, yes, it was too. Anything else could have been put there. God put that there to create a revolt, a revolution. And the day those words were penned, slavery in this country was doomed. God wrote it down to create a revolt. Oh, come on, how many can see that? That's why it's put there. All men. The Creator gave it to all men. God had it with that blight that He never made. Slavery did not come about until Noah got drunk. When Noah got drunk, he said, "Cursed is Canaan, and he will be a servant." From that point on, men tried to dominate men. Oh, don't get mad at Noah. He's lost and drunk. But he had the blessing of Adam to speak and order the new world. You can't get any more mad at him than you did Adam. Adam caused it all. I mean, you know. Anybody getting this? Am I, I'm not afraid to stand and speak and put down all slavery and bondage. Don't get that stinking mess up in my face, because I won't like that. And I'll guarantee you God don't like it. So it was penned in the United States Constitution in the preamble. Words of revolt. And when the forefathers wrote this down, we hold these truths, watch this, to be self-evident. Come on. Everybody knows it. You know, I was listening to an interview. Somebody asked Vladimir Putin. They asked the man all over the communist nation. They said, about God. When did he start believing in God? And so on. So you know what he answered? It amazed me. He said, it's in one of the interviews, he said, and it shocked the interviewer. He said, you know, we live as a people under biblical values. He said that. He said it. We live under biblical values. And he said everyone knows it. And so they asked him, you know, what Karl Marx said religion was the opium of the people. Was it Marx or Lenin? One of them said that. He said, so it's not the opium of the people, right? And Putin said, no, it's not. What do you do with that? When everybody, even he knows, everybody knows that you live under the values of this book. Now, whether men follow them or not, I don't know. And I know that people say, that's a bad example to give Putin as an example. Well, that's what the man said. Well, you know, Rick Renner's church is there, so maybe it's rubbing off. Big time, you know. And Lester Summerall carried the ship's spirit and fed all the people over there when they were starving. And that's probably got noticed. But anyway, let me get back on this. It's self-evident that all men are created equal. When they wrote that in the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, when that was written down, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When that was written down, it told all men who could hear that, all men, their position and their birthright. It didn't make any difference now what color your skin was. It didn't make no difference what background you came from. It didn't make any difference if you came from Africa, if you were American Indian, if you were Jewish. It didn't make no difference. When they wrote that down, they said all men were created by God and had this. But you can't pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without Jesus. But still, position and power, or position and birthright, which is power. Position and birthright was made known to all men. And it was a declaration from God to revolt against slavery. Now, I don't know how that sets with everybody, but it don't much matter to me. It's true anyway. Now, even in the Constitution, this is told. See, for no matter what happens, until someone sees their position and their birthright, they will always remain in bondage. It don't make any difference who speaks up for you. It don't make any difference what they say. Until you see it, you'll always be in bondage, dependent on someone else. But the day you see position and birthright is the day revolt takes place. It's the day you rise up against oppression, that day. And so they knew that. They knew that. You've got to ask yourself a question. The children of Israel came out of Egypt. When they came out of Egypt, slaves for over 400 years, when they came out of Egypt, you ask yourself, why did they have to go behind doors and put blood over their doors? They had lived in Egypt 400 years. From all accounts, they weren't circumcised. They forgot their covenant with God. So they had to be brought under the shadow of the covenant that was coming, the new one of the Lamb. And they had to eat the lamb. They had to do all of this behind doors, looking into the future of a time to come. And it was all that could protect them because they wasn't circumcised. Remember, Moses was leaving the backside of the desert. Watch this. And no matter what a movie tells you, his wife and his son was with him. And they were coming back by the hotel. Well, I thought Moses camped out with the camels. I thought he lived by a cactus somewhere. The Bible said he went by the inn. He came back out of the backside of the desert with his wife, his family. He comes by the inn. The Bible said the Lord came by to kill him that night. Not Moses, his son. And Zipporah took a sharp stone and circumcised her son and threw it on a rock and said, now you're a bloody husband to me. In other words, you have a covenant with God. Everybody was forgetting their covenant. Moses' son wouldn't have died in Egypt. He had been circumcised. Come on, guys. His covenant was remembered. His covenant was remembered. So they had forgotten covenant. Well, what has happened to the body of Christ? Why are we still under such bondage? Why do we have to take temperatures at the front door before we have the courage to let somebody come to a prayer line? Really, you want them well before you pray for the sick. How does that work? That's like asking a stove, give me heat and I'll put in some wood. How does that work? They need healing. Well, go get well and then come for prayer. How does that work? It's because people have lost sight of their position and their birthright. They've lost sight of their covenant with God. And so when that happens, you have to be locked behind doors because you can't activate that.